Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar on EdTech and education in China since COVID-19. First and foremost, we hope that you and your families are safe and in good health in these very trying times. At EDT Partners, we wanted to bring together 4 senior experts in the industry to learn about the impact that COVID-19 is having on the industry in China. We thought it would also be good to draw from lessons learned so that companies in other parts of the world can model strategies around success cases on the one hand and anticipate potential problems on the other hand. Now, this panel discussion will be facilitated by Star Nie. Good evening to you in Beijing, Star. Star is EDT's Senior Strategy Consultant for China, and by Josep M, that's me. I'm EDT's Regional Director and Principal for APAC. We will first have a discussion with the panelists, and then we'll open the floor for questions at the end of the session. But please feel free to write your questions at any time on the chat, and we promise we will try and answer as many as possible. Now, without any further delay, let's introduce our panelists for this evening. We're both honored and privileged to have with us today Christina Ng, Jerrick Ren, Michael Cahill, and Adam Chen. Christina Ng is co-founder and general manager for ULearning Technology International. She's based in Beijing and has more than 15 years experience in online education. Good evening, Christina. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Sorry. Hi, Christina. Okay.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. This is Star from China. Thank you so much again for joining us today. It's my great honor to introduce our second expert today, Adam Chen. He's the co-founder and global president of Qkids, which is a leading online education platform headquartered in Fujian, China, that connects English teachers with hundreds of thousands of Chinese students from aged 4 to 12 years old. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, thanks, Stan. Hi, Jos. Good evening.
Hi there, Adam. Good evening. We also have Michael Cahill with us, and in his very own words, Michael believes learning should be exciting, inspiring, and life-changing. As a senior regional director for National Geographic Learning, Michael partners with visionaries, mavericks, and respected rule breakers to deliver authentic and motivating language learning content for over 30 million learners across China. Welcome again, Michael, and thanks for being here with us.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
And our last guest speaker today is Jerrick Ren. He's the head of overseas at JMDedu, which is the #1 business blog and database for edtech startup and investment in China. Before he joined JMDedu, he has 2 years working experience as market supervisor, and he is a very active member of global edtech community, and he's playing a key role in terms of cross-border cooperation. Welcome, Jerrick.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we are so happy to have you all today with us to talk about China technology landscape after COVID-19. During the outbreak in China, almost all the online education companies have launched free live lessons. Some of them also provide free learning resources to their users. So we can tell the expansion model of online learning companies is based on strategy loss. In the past, there has been many voices querying how sustainable this approach is, very especially for younger companies and the startup. So, Jerrick, I would love to invite you to share some of your opinions about how will COVID-19 impact this scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite interesting as they are large offline gatherings, exams, and after-school tutoring activities are suspended to contain the spread of COVID-19. I mean, a variety of the short-term demands stimulated in China's education market, such as e-testing, and education services in terms of family relationships improvement. But whether the surging demands will become a long-run market opportunity, we need to wait until end of the epidemic and make further speculation based upon its market size and economic model. I mean, it's I mean, it looks like everybody is being forced to stay home, and users' experience using online education in China during coronavirus shutdown is likely to offer a wealth of information and feedback. I mean, the companies they can get a bunch of data of users during this period, providing companies with very valuable data as to how to achieve wider popularity. I mean, especially in the online education track, few companies. It's interesting because a lot of Chinese companies, they are doing a thing. They are being forced to doing a thing like what we heard of called the burning money. So they spend lots of money on advert and the user acquisition. Few companies are profitable due to the high cost of the customer acquisition. Although the e-learning during the closure of the schools is encouraged by the national government or school district. I mean, the seemingly prosperous market still doesn't make it a pivot to make it a turnaround. But when it's come to a number of students actually taking the online courses and parents constantly paying for their main products, I think we are not personally, I'm not optimistic about the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to take an example, let's just look at the VIP kit. I mean, VIP kit sells around 50 sessions in the first purchase, like $40 a session. So it's gonna be $2,000 in total. Their card is probably around like $600 to $700, and the rest goes to the teacher. Mm-hmm. But when customers at the point, I mean, if any customers, they're gonna renew their subscriptions or repay their products, probably 2 times as acquisition cost is taken in. 3 for like 100 sessions, lifetime equals to 100 sessions equals to $4,000 in total, and they 1,200 cut. Still, that ratio is not very good. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at this is even for RevKit, one of the largest edtech company in the world. This is not so. I mean, based on the current data, it's not so good. So I think the company I know they acquire a lot of users. They by delivering the free content, but I think they need to think about spend more time on how to decrease the cost of the internal operation. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And also Oliver Wyman predicts that the negative growth of in the education sector in China, especially this year. What are the lessons we can learn for other international markets in your point of view?
You mean China?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's a kind of different. I mean, China's market is very segmented. Like the inequality is do exist. Like the landscape, the market landscape is totally different in tier 1 city and tier 2 cities. I mean, there's totally different way to doing things, running a company in Beijing or any other province in Western China. So I think the difference between Chinese market and the market outside China is most of Chinese edtech companies, they are aiming to build up a platform at the very end stage, no matter what business they are running. So they are trying to do as more things they can as they can. So that's quite interesting. But most of the Western companies, they are just doing their they are trying to do things just in their own virtual track. But Chinese company like Cahill, like Neo Rental or ByteDance or Replicate, they are just trying to do as more as they can. So yeah, that's a difference.
Thank you.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jerrick. On this particular note, I would, if that's okay, I would like to bring up a further question, which is linked to apparently to some of the companies that you were discussing, and address this next question to Michael. Because one of the main problems or issues that we've observed in the tutoring segment is the lack of differentiation among players, or at least this is what many experts actually talk about. So, Michael, in your opinion, are there opportunities for foreign content suppliers to bring the necessary differentiation? And I'm thinking both in terms of content as well as technology.
Great question, Josep, and thank you, Josep and Star and everyone at EDT for having me here today, and thank you to Jerrick and Adam and Christina for joining me on this panel. Differentiation is something that's really important to us at National Geographic Learning. Being different is the road to success in China. And when we look at the landscape in China, you look at the tutoring sector, whether it's K-12 or after-school programs, they're looking at three areas typically. Learning outcomes, number one, emotional connection, or often student retention, number two, and number three, profitability. If you are a foreign content provider or a foreign technology partner, how can you address those issues in a way that's different from your competitors? Yeah. At National Geographic Learning, we live and breathe being different by focusing on our mission, which is bringing the world to the classroom and the classroom to life. So we're able to address several of those areas. Learning outcomes are table stakes. Emotional connection is something that we believe that we can do better than others. And then profitability, we have to work very closely with our partners to think about how we can help them. Is it student retention? Is it student recruitment? Is it managing parents? Yeah. The interesting, I think our success, we've been working in China now for about 20 years. We have about 30 million end users, students. But our success there has always been about finding the right partner. Know what you're good at and what your differentiation point. And then find partners in China who are good at what they do and then work together. Yeah. At National Geographic Learning, we've taken that a second step or a step further in that we are seeking what we call fellow travelers. The difference between success and really good success is finding fellow travelers. And these are organizations that share with you a vision, a mission, and values that you can then work together and then grow exponentially in the China market. So be different, find your unique value proposition, and focus on that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. It's actually a great way to find differentiation and a great piece of advice to other companies interested in coming into the Chinese market. But there's a further question that I wanted to ask about content development and provision. Because we also know that the authorities are not very amenable to the flow of non-localized foreign product, as you know. So what are you doing in particular, and what would be your advice to other companies in terms of overcoming those barriers of entry? Sure.
This mega trend, which has been identified as educational sovereignty, or a greater focus on educational sovereignty, is a trend that's not unique to China. You see it anywhere. You see it across the world. Yeah, you see it in the United States and Indonesia. You see it in Indonesia. You can see it across the world. And this simply means that ministries are being very conscious about what is being instructed and how it's being instructed. If you are a foreign provider of content or a foreign technology provider in China, you have to be very aware of these issues, and you have to have a sensitivity to these issues. Our approach at National Geographic Learning is because of we take a very strong stance, and we say that English belongs to the world. And it doesn't belong to the Americans or the British or the Canadians. If it ever did, it belongs to everybody. So when you teach a language, you teach the culture. If English is truly a global culture, you introduce the world to learners of English. So in our materials, when they open up our textbooks, they see learners who look like them. It's very important for us that our mission is to help our partners develop speakers of English who are proud to be Chinese or proud to be Brazilian or proud to be Vietnamese and can represent their culture. We've done a couple of initiatives in China where we really try to focus on that. We sponsored a Life is Lived program where we sponsored 2 National Geographic photographers to come to China and take photographs of everyday places, parks, schools, shopping malls. We then created a database of content that now we can use to put into our books or to customize or localize our books in line with the local regulations. Anyone who's on this call, I strongly encourage you to look at the most recent curriculum reforms for university, high school, and the basic curriculum reform should come out end of this year, maybe next year. And you'll see that China is looking to internationalize education with Chinese characteristics.
Exactly.
And understanding what that means and then being aligned with those is going to help you deal with those regulatory hurdles.
That's terrific. Thank you very much, Michael.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I have a next question addressed to K-12 tutoring. So this is the most promising and competitive segment in China, especially language tutoring, since we Chinese invest so much on English learning. Like we have so many big company like VIP Kid, 51 Talk, and New Oriental. So in this segment in education, are we bound to witness an acceleration in terms of player consideration? Can I invite Adam to share some of your idea?
Thank you, Star. Thank you for having me here. It's indeed this K-12 English language tutoring. It's very hot indeed today, and I think the K-12 tutoring industry is very fragmented. Hundreds of thousands of players in the domestic market is very competitive. With now more than increasing regulatory, like Michael mentioned, regulatory barriers and market barriers, the consolidation, I believe, will definitely it's happening and will continue. We may see this consolidation in 3 areas: online to online, offline to offline, and online to offline. So online to online, what happened after this pandemic? As we can see, Jerrick mentioned a little bit. Sorry. Okay. The online company, I believe the big winners, especially with those abandoned cash, will become bigger. They will take more market shares. And what you call the burning money, whatever, that way how they acquire customers, acquire users, become much more aggressive. And some of them definitely become national champions. And in this online business, I believe the scale matters. The advantage is huge. There is a lot of benefit in research and development, the content technology, and the management efficiency. And you have also the good efficiency in marketing and branding. So the size matters. And now, as we mentioned that, and more tutoring products become more and more like commodities. So price matters. And once the price matters, you have price war. And small ones will find a very hard time. They will find a hard time to find new customers. The traffic will become more and more expensive. So the question will become that where those big ones acquire those small, and eventually some of them become struggling, where they acquire those small and struggling ones. And I don't think that's necessary will happen, because the struggling company, very few of them hold assets. They hold more or less liabilities. In this business, online business, the companies take advance payments from students, and then burn it out. When they get into trouble, they really get into trouble. Okay, so there is not too much assets. So over time, the small names may disappear, and as capital values is higher, so I don't think that investors going to, will be willing to invest in new startups as we have seen in the past few years. So the things may have changed. So we will have a market structure eventually that it's more centralized, and top players will take a much higher market share than offline. But of course, there will still be a considerable tail market, and we will still see a lot of small and beautiful companies that rely on third-party platforms, provide some unique values, and in certain niche areas. Okay, so the second consolidation happened on offline to offline. We have already seen trend in that past few years. Giving more and more stringent regulatory environment, it makes more sense. Sorry, I need to go to another place. Okay, I got
no problem. No problem. Education is all about children, and we're bound to be educating and spending time with our children in this time of confinement. So it's perfectly okay, Adam.
Okay, I actually give the order not to come into this room, but my order is to use this.
No problem. Please carry on.
Okay, so in this offline, where we are. Okay, so we will see more centralized, and in this offline to offline, we will see more acquisition happening, because it makes sense for offline business to acquire another. That's because offline business usually is local and regional. It takes years to build a sizable population and brand.
That's right.
But in this pandemic, offline business badly hit it. They don't have cash income, but they still need to pay out rents and salaries. And I believe many will not be able to survive in next few months. We will see. We will see many owners will transfer part of their lease and students to other players. And the last consolidation may come from online to offline. And we will see that happen as well. Why is that? Because some assets, offline assets, become too cheap for offline just to tap it to collect student names.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Adam. We would like now to, and we will come back to K-12 and tutoring and content and investment issues in a few minutes, but we wanted to spend some time now talking about higher education. And so we will go to Christina for the next couple of questions. Christina, you're in charge of the international business and operations for ULearning, and this includes train-the-trainer, for training programs in blended and learning and teaching, intelligent integration of education and technology and content with technology. And in the case of ULearning, from very, very early on during the crisis, you've been addressing distance learning, given the circumstances, for a number of months, and you have to step the game just like many other companies. I mean, in your advice, from what you know, the work that you're doing both in China and abroad, what would be your advice to universities and other learning institutions that need to activate continuation learning plans?
First of all, in the first place, let me just talk a bit about what's happening in the higher education in China and the rest of the countries that have gone to, like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore specifically. So we are working together with Huawei internationally to help the different countries to mitigate the education disruption, because it happens much later than China. But whatever we have done in China is a duplication in the international market. So in terms of China, what we have discovered is that from the very beginning of on the 10th of February, where everybody went on the live broadcast and all the platforms were down, whether Ali servers, Huawei servers, and also the Tencent servers all went down because everybody went on live broadcast, just like what we're doing now. So, and then the Chinese government actually realized that, number one, if you everybody went on live, the whole China network. As you know, China internet network is one of the most advanced in the world already, and it still crashed.
Yeah.
So this is something that we have to think about it. What is online education in actual scenario? What our ULearning platform did not crash. Crash is because we divert our old users to use online teaching because we have a lot of interactive tools that really can engage a student without going live broadcast. Of course, some live broadcasts, we actually invited some of the experts in the different disciplines. We have invited Josep to tell the pedagogy of the ELT to our teachers on how to tell the Chinese stories to the world, and the pedagogy in online teaching and online education, and also the educational technology behind the online teaching and the live teaching. So in this case, we have gathered a lot of experiences, and of course, of this kind. Sorry. Yeah, in other countries, and we talk about what if after COVID-19. So we can. I would like to use the statement from Morgan Stanley. They have done a survey and they have published the result after they have done the survey with the MNCs in China and the rest of the world. They have found out that what people has guessed that because of the COVID-19, so all industry in the next stage, there will be more, they will stress more on the digital infrastructure, like cloud service, IoT, and distance education. So happened that China is very strong in 5G data center and IoT digital infrastructure. So it's actually accelerating because of the COVID-19. And a lot of AI and robotics will be in place. In fact, it's already in place before that, but then it becomes accelerated. So all the business infrastructure that brought by the cloud service and IoT and all kinds of learning technology will be enhanced. The strength will be enhanced. So in this respect, a lot of some of the experts that the global value chain will the global manufacturing chain or industry chain will leave China very fast. That will.
Oh, it seems that we lost Christina. All right. So while we try and go back to Christina, Star, would you like to move on to the next area?
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yes. As we know, I guess some of you are EdTech company CEO or key shareholders, and I think this question you must be very interested about is I would love to ask all of our guest speakers to share the idea about what's the key takeaways for companies who want to enter or grow in China market. And I would love to invite Jerrick, because Jerrick is the head of overseas of JMDedu, and he helps some of the foreign EdTech companies to enter and grow in China. So I would love to invite you to give us some of your ideas.
Okay, yeah. I think the most priority thing is understanding, because the landscape and the demographic of the Chinese market is totally different, and something even doesn't make sense to the Western people. Like we have our own ecosystem. Like we don't use Google. Google doesn't work in China. We have our own equivalent. We have our Baidu and other. We don't use the WhatsApp and messengers. Either of them doesn't work in China. So we have our own WeChat. So you need to think about and understand what's the current ecosystem do exist in China and how the user habit looks like in China. So I think that's the most important thing. And the second is to find like what Michael shared, find a right partner. Because in China, there are many industry. If you don't have a local partner, you are very easily to cross the line. If once you have a right partner, he can help you avoid many unnecessary problems. I think that's the two things I want to share. Because the many and especially for the EdTech companies, I think if you ever heard about the China education department, some regulation being published, you might heard of that the overseas content is totally being banned in the public sector schools. So there is no way for foreign companies working directly with the public schools. But if your consumers age group is kindergarten or younger kids, it gotta be much easier. That's right.
Thank you, Jerrick.
Michael or Adam, would you like to add to this at all?
I'd certainly say. Sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Michael and Jerrick. For foreign companies enter into China, the most important thing, you need to have a good team, and most likely, and you will need to rely on a local partner. Okay, and Chinese are generally very entrepreneurial. So if you hire your employee there, and pretty much they will start their own company in a few years. So you will have to, and then you need to, before you actually enter, because China market is indeed a little bit, I think, as I see, different from the rest of the world. Jerrick mentioned. So it's in the market, it's very, very competitive, and you've got so many entrepreneurs here, and they compete against each other, and so much capital. So, and before you actually enter, ask yourself, what do you have? Do you have some kind of IP that the Chinese not able to copy, or do you have technology that no one able to invent it, or what else? In terms of a local market, definitely this is a local business. You will have to rely on the local team to do their job, and it's not going to control from the headquarters.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I think I agree with everything that's been said so far. I think exposure is incredibly important for any foreign company that wants to come into China. And this can be working through partners like JMDedu and others who organize events where you can meet lots of people and start to understand the market. The second point, I think, is relationships. You have to build up those connections locally.
Absolutely.
With people that you're going to meet, and it's not always the biggest players or the players with the most money. It can be, there's a very diverse range of people out there. Build relationships, and if you're building relationships, be humble. Listen.
Yes.
China is a big place. It is. I just recently moved. I've been working in China for 20 years. I just moved to China 6 months ago. I've learned more about China in 6 months living there than I did in 20 years of working there. So listen, be humble. And I think a third piece of advice, which I think is just a way of restating what Adam and Jerrick already said, is you have to find a local voice. What your voice in China is different than your voice where you may be working other places. So finding someone who can give you advice, who can speak for you, who can represent you, is very, very important.
Thank you guys for this. We're still trying to recover Christina and to bring her back to the webinar. So, but in the meantime, we will press on with the couple of questions we still have left before we open the floor to more questions. So, the next question is about something else that we've been hearing. Oliver Wyman, in a recent report, were making reference to this in a very, very extensive way. We've heard about online and offline institutions merging, coming together, becoming closer. In your view, and during these months, what is it that we've seen happening? How have these institutions borrowed from one another? And is there more sort of integration expected going forward? I don't know, Michael or Adam or Jerrick, just feel free to jump in at any time.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Adam. I just want to share some. There's been some reports released within China where they've done surveys with, I think, about 2,000 institutions, after-school tutoring, asking them their view on this online merging with offline merging with online. And it's before COVID-19 and their expectations for after COVID-19. And 60% of the institutions currently are offline.
Yes.
And 30%, only 30% expect to be offline after COVID-19. And currently about 29% are doing some type of OMO, but after COVID-19, 53% expect to be doing OMO. And I think one of the most interesting points was that 16% post-COVID-19, they don't know what they're going to do. So these are actually opportunities for those of us who can bring in solutions for them. Adam, please.
Yeah, so I think in this, nowadays for offline, really they don't have a choice. They will definitely, most often I believe, will really try to do the online model. But the online is difficult. So it goes back to that concept, what is OMO, and what does that entail? I think different people have different understanding. I know the one company doing very well, it's called one offline under the New Oriental. It's what's it called? Dongfang Yubo. What's the English name? Jerrick? It's the same name.
Yeah, so, just the Dongfang Yubo. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you acquire customers, and through the local, and then you deliver the service online. That's one way. And there were some other models as well. So I think that this OMO definitely become more and more prevailing concept in many business. And in the future, I believe they won't be online and offline distinguished. It will be just business, the tutoring business. It really doesn't matter, how you deliver it, how you want to serve your customers, you service where they need it. So it will be a full environment. And either go to the offline, tuition centers, you may open the one, or you acquire customers through that centers, or you go to the living room or go to the study room, it will be anywhere. I think that kind of concept will become more and more popular.
Thank you, Adam. Star, should we move to the next question? I'm really aware of time at this point.
Yes. So we all talk about the future trend like OMO and also future opportunities. So I would love to address the keyword opportunities here. For both foreign and local companies, what new opportunities cannot be missed, and what are the growth points that deserve special attention?
So, Jerrick, would you like to start this time?
Sure. I think the one of the opportunities should be the competency education for the foreigner companies, because more and more parents, especially in tier 1 and tier 2 cities, they begin to notice that the kids, the good kids, doesn't mean just a good tester. It doesn't mean the higher score you get doesn't mean you are a better student. You need to learn how to be a global citizen. You need to how to embrace with each other, not only in your school, but also any other human being on the planet. And you need to how to be well-being and some softer skills. I think that would be because I think most of Chinese companies, we are really good. We are really good how to tutoring mathematics and computer science. But that's a cultural difference. But for the there's still opportunity exists for foreign companies who are trying to do the competition education. Yeah, that would be very interesting.
That's great.
Thank you, Jerrick.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, Christina, lovely to see you back. There was another question that we wanted to ask. And in this particular case, I think it will be a good segue to go to the last 5 minutes of the panel. It's a bit of a philosophical question, I'm afraid. From what you have seen, are we actually on the verge of a radical change or a progressive change that will step up as far as higher education is concerned? And also talking about the OMO, the the offline merging with the online models, in your opinion? I think Christina yeah. Oh, Christina, are you there? Hi, Christina. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear the question. Christina? Okay, I think we should press on then, clearly. For those of you who are wondering, Christina is not in Beijing at this point in time. She's in Malaysia, so that might be the issue. So let's wrap up at this point in time. Just what we would like to ask you, the four of you, is for a brief summary or conclusion in terms of recommendation from your specific areas. What would your recommendation be if you have to choose one critical piece of information in terms of a recommendation to foreign companies interested in entering Chinese market, or else those that are already in China but want to step up their game? Adam, would you like to? Oh, sorry, anybody?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think I would choose the teacher training. Yeah, I think the teacher training. Yeah, teacher training. I think you need to realize that the one reason why online tutoring is going viral in China is because the mission of the online learning is to solve the education equality. So that can make sure that kids in rural area in China, they can enjoy the good quality, very qualified teacher from Beijing, either from Beijing or Shanghai. So that's the reason. And so if you want to deal with the educational inequality, you need to you need to try to think how to make the teacher better.
Yeah.
I mean, there's as we all know, how to say it, the equipment in China public schools are very good, as long as I can see. We have a very good infrastructures. We have the blackboard everywhere in every single schools, but teachers don't know how to make most of it, and they don't know how to automate their potential. So I think that would be a key industry in the near future. I think there's a bunch of opportunities. Yeah. Great.
Michael, please.
Sure. It's a big question. I think it's what we've found most valuable as content developers is to develop a relationship with the schools and institutions that are using our materials or would potentially use our materials, to really understand how they take what we develop and how they interpret that in the local context. Because when you develop a technology or you develop content, you think it's going to be used in a certain way, but very often it's used in a different way.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Learning from them is going to help you build a better product that meets the needs of those users. And I think it's very important, in addition to the policy trends, you need to also be very aware of the parent market. Parents are very demanding in China, far more demanding than they ever used to be. In fact, some of the parents know more about pedagogy and education than sometimes we do. So having a way to tap into that, talk to your local partners who have children and who are working in this environment, hear what they're saying, and that will help you translate your message into the local context, into something that has meaning for them.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Adam, on our last minute before we go on to the open questions.
Okay, so so I have two points. One is in this pandemic, I think winners stand out, and the losers and small ones eventually disappear. Many of them disappear. You will have little bit newcomers, small ones. So that's one part. The other part for an opportunity, I think the content is very, very important, especially regarding to the early child. And Michael mentioned about this parent market. I certainly agreed. And it's the homeschooling market. I think that's what we. I think what China is really good at, the Chinese company really good at, most of them is technology and market. They got a lot of energy and expertise in market product, but they do have not necessarily have the expertise and patience, more importantly, to develop content. If you got a good content and you may license to China market, and you may find your space there, and that's really important. And when I mean a good content, it's not simply to pass your print out materials to China to find a retailer. That's not good enough. You will need to have to be adapted to the online environment, and that's why you need a local partner. And then if you've got a good content, it's definitely now it's a good time to come into China. It's the golden place for good content. The Chinese parents really demanding that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I think, this is actually close to perfection. It's 14 minutes to the hour. We have a number of questions from the audience that we would like to put forward to you. Star, would you like to take the first one and opening up?
Yes, I just see a question from one of our guests here. They are asking about the current situation has shown the fragility of internet access at home. How are you addressing this challenge in China, like universal internet for everyone? This is a general. Whoever wanna answer, please feel free.
Well, I actually we experienced that in the first month of this close down, and that was in February, a few days. And then we also saw the company like Alibaba, they have a good communication tool within Quest. You can't believe Alibaba, they have a huge Alibaba Cloud and still Quest. So it's indeed a universal problem. And do we have a solution for that? And if there were too many people if let's really attract the end on this, I really don't think we have a good solution for that. We just wait. And then we see infrastructure company, those providers, they upgrade their facility quickly. And that's the beauty of China. The commercial company really respond to this very, very quickly. So after, I think, 7 days, a few days later, the infrastructure generally is not a big problem. That's in China.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
I'd like to circle back to something that Jerrick brought up, which is the idea of equity in education. And for policymakers in China, this is a huge issue because there's still large numbers of students in China who don't have good internet access. So if you're a foreign provider who can address this issue in any way, whether it's finding ways to minimize the internet load for content that's being delivered, or to make things that are more mobile accessible, there's huge opportunities there. And we know China, just like everywhere else, policy issues drive market. So these are things that we have to look at very carefully.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I will also further add another matter. I think we talk about OMO. I think this is different from, in China's concept, different from blended learning. Okay, I believe there was a very popular concept, blended learning, a few years back. The Chinese
actually, Adam, it would be really good if you could actually expand on this, on OMO and these differences, because there are several questions that have been posted by the panel. So please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. For example, we take online tutoring, right? When we talk about online tutoring, there was a concept called O2O model. That's still a little bit, people say also called OMO as well. That was in 2014, 2015. Basically, you use internet to find customers. Then you find a tutor, then you find a student. You use your, the matching system, match them. You don't deliver the service. That's also kind of one form of OMO. You've got the online part, you've got the offline part, but that model didn't work. So it evolved. So now what we mean to OMO, so that will indicate two parts. One is how you acquire customers. Like in Dongfang Yubo's model, they acquire customers in in offline model, they still acquire customers through their, train stores, and then they deliver the service online. So you definitely in this OMO model, you will need to have an online element there. That's how you deliver your service. You deliver your teaching service. You could deliver your teaching service purely online. That's the Dongbang Yubo's model. Or in some cases, Michael may add more comment on that. You have blended learning. Some part of the lessons you deliver in classroom, and some part of exercise you deliver online. Just purely by just purely look at this delivery service, it's not necessarily what we call the OMO. OMO has to be from how you get the customer to how you deliver the service. It's the full concept. So it's a combination of different online, offline model in different times.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, you can't hear Christina, unfortunately. You can't see Christina, but she's on the chat and she's writing answers for us. So a good example that she just gave us for OMO is, for example, a simulation lab.
I think Adam raises. Sorry, go ahead, Star.
A related question regarding OMO, because we all know online and offline are so many different, especially when delivering the course. So how are we planning to evaluate or monitor that?
That's a very, very, very good question. I think this is actually a question that all today's online company have to answer in a few years' time. We still don't know that it has not been tested yet. Okay, so we don't have, basically, if you ask, do we have academic research to support this all distance learning, online learning, it's as effective as offline? We don't have that. But we know that online, learning, tutoring provide convenience. And in early trial, in this young kids education, because we use technology, we use animation, we engage kids. So in that sense, it seems that it provides efficiency, effectiveness. But as to the learning outcomes, Michael mentioned that, is that really as effective as offline? I don't know, but we believe it should be.
Yeah. This is, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
I was going to say I believe this is actually the $1 million question. And you see that all the players, is that the multi-billion-dollar question. There isn't a standard digital pedagogy, if you will. And everyone right now, there's a grand experiment across China, which is now being accelerated across the world because of COVID-19, where you see teachers having to deliver lessons online. So I think we have the opportunity now to start to see those digital pedagogies being developed. And if anyone is on this call, this event, and has ideas about digital pedagogy, and it goes back to what Jerrick said, teacher training, this would be incredibly valuable within the China market currently.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. So let's see, other questions that we may have here. Yes, we missed on higher education. Sumit is saying we've actually asked Christina to address this in writing. So as soon as we have her answer, we will read it out loud for you. And we have another question for online or blended learning. Do you still need to host locally in China in the content and service, or can you actually deliver remotely? This is, again, a question related to policy as well.
Yeah, I think in blended learning, we definitely, no problem, we're able to deliver remotely. So we hire the best teachers in Beijing, and then we deliver that teaching service to the kids in a remote, even a remote village in the countryside, as long as the internet access. Or school, we have a different, combination of what they call a class model, the double teachers class model, small class, big class, they have different, but essentially, it's the learning, the teaching itself, it's a distant learning, it's a remote delivery. That's how people call it.
Yeah.
If it's, okay, Michael.
I was going to say, I think to this question about hosting content locally, there are a couple of issues. There's regulatory issues, and then there's also accessibility issues. You can host things outside of China, but are they accessible in terms of speed in China? And this is where I come back to the comment about having a partner. You need to have a partner who can help you either host the content because they have a license to do so, or they can use local technology that can help you deliver the content more effectively. There are some gray areas currently within what can be hosted and what can't be hosted. The expectation is that those regulations will get tighter over time, but having a local partner help you with that is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, definitely. Jerrick, I don't know if you would like to add to that, or whether we should go to the next question that we have here from Nadia. If you want to take that first, please. Thank you.
I think we should. Yeah, we can just go to the next one.
Yeah, excellent. So this is, as you can see on the screen, educational robots based in the UK. What is the main thing we should look for in a Chinese partner? That's an excellent question that can actually travel to many other foreign companies.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if you care about your robot setting, you need to think about what sort of setting channels your partner would have. Like they might have a store, they might have some e-store on Taobao, Alibaba, or any other selling track. But if you have your, if you have your own courses merged into your product, you can actually directly work with the offline tutoring center or some other competency tutoring center who deliver the STEM or STEAM education. Yeah, I think that's the two key opinion you need to take highlight. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think for any partner in China, but especially if you're looking at distribution, you want to look at your potential partner's financial backing. How much strength do they have to be able to pay, to be able to grow with the business? Their reach currently, do they have a sales force? Where they're located? Which markets are they in? And I think for us, it's always a question about leadership and the vision of your partner. Again, does that vision align with what you want to do and how you want to represent your product in China?
Thank you. We have an answer from Christina on the chat to the question about online or blended learning and whether it has to be hosted locally or it can be delivered remotely. As far as Christina is concerned, her advice would be to get always a local partner to publish on their digital platform. I mean, this is in a way going to make the flow of the content and access to the content way better for any foreign partner. That's for sure. Next question we have from Tano. Do you think Chinese education institutions will be more open now to using international recruitment tools? I know that Christina answered to this before, and she said that LinkedIn is actually #1 recruitment platform in China, very much the same as anywhere else in the world. So I don't know, Jerrick, if you have any views on this. We just have 2 minutes left, so maybe an answer and probably a very quick next question.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, actually the truth is not so many people are using LinkedIn in China. I mean, most of people in China who are using LinkedIn is people, either you are working for overseas company or you are running an overseas business. Like what I said in the first sector, we have our own equivalent. Like we don't use Google, like we don't use Spotify, we don't use LinkedIn. We have like just to look at the WeChat. There you can find everything in WeChat. Right, so you got Uber, you got Uber, you got the food delivery, you got the UPS, you can mail everything. So yeah, we have our own equivalent. I think this is not about open or not. I think this is about the consumer users, because we have used to use our own product, our own tools. So it's and our tools we are using is kind of like disconnect with the outside world. Yeah, that's my thing. It's not about open. It's about the it's about the what do we have used to. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add, if, for the Chinese company, if it's for international market, and definitely very, very open. The Chinese company are very, very open. They are very innovative and willing to, for example, we use, because we recruit teachers, we use Indeed. They don't even have a presence in China. But if it's for local, if we want to launch you tools in local market, and like Jerrick mentioned, you have to make sure that product is localized and you do have the local, resources connection to make sure it's locally friendly.
Great. I think this brings us right on the hour. Just ready to wrap up. Star, please.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your valuable experience and ideas. And I remember so many fantastic points and the perspective you guys raised. And I quite agree with, I remember Jerrick mentioned about we need for foreign companies and also for Chinese company who want to enter international markets. We definitely need a better understanding of the country, the people, everything. And I remember Adam mentioned about we need maybe some local team. We need it's really important to find the right person or local partner to do business together. And back to Michael's perspective, he mentioned about exposure in the chosen market is very essential, and also be humble, and we need to share the local voice. So I'm really happy to see the interaction between China and the world is like more and more frequent. And I know there are so many Chinese companies who wanna enter the international market, and also in the other way, there are so many foreign companies they wanna enter and grow in China market. That's why we wanna have this webinar to help you or help us to build a better understanding of each other. And also in the future, if you would love to get to know more about China, or you want to more interaction with Chinese company or local partners, we are more than happy to have a further discussion with you guys. And you can reach us either through our official website, or you can, as Jerrick mentioned about LinkedIn, you guys can just simply search our name on LinkedIn, and we are more than happy to have a further discussion with you. And it's 1 hour, and I think it's perfect timing for this webinar. And thank you again for everyone to join us today.
Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Night now.
Everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.